Hello, today is November the 15th, 2020. My name is Christian Matheus, and I'm interviewing Jose Julian Garcia for the University Library Special Collections and Archives at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, hereafter abbreviated as UTRGV. This project's in partnership with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Jose, that this interview will be placed in the University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there's something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll go ahead and talk about it. The University Library Special Collections and Archives will archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation you're willing to share with us. UTRGV University Library will retain copyright or non-exclusive right to the interview and any other materials you donate or wish to donate to special collections and archives at UTRGV. Because we're not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting to make sure you agree with our interview procedures before we continue. So I'll go ahead and ask you a series of 6 questions. Just please say, yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each questions. Okay? Do you give the university, library, special collections, and archives at UTRGV consent to archive your interview and your materials at UTRGV University Library?
Yes.
Do you grant UTRGV University Library, special collections, and archives right, title, and interest and copyright over the interview and any other materials you provide?
Yes.
Do you agree to allow UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes.
Do you grant the University Library Special Collections and Archives consent to share your Zoom interview with the Voces Oral History Center at the University at Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voices of a Pandemic Oral History mini project, which will include posting the interview on the internet?
Yes.
Okay. Well, as you recall, we previously filled out a pre-interview form for your interview. We use information from the pre-interview form to help in research, wherein the entire form is kept in a secure Voces server at the University of Texas at Austin. Before Voces sends it to UTRGV, University Library Special Collections and Archives, we would have stripped any contact information for yourself or family members so that it will not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at UTRGV University Library. And the final 2 questions I'm about to ask you is for your consent on what I just described. So, do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at the University, UTRGV Library Special Collections and Archives?
Yes.
And on occasion, UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and Voces receive requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets, so do you give consent for us to share your phone numbers or your email with these journalists?
Um. No, I don't agree.
Okay. Jose, thank you for your time. Like I said earlier, your experiences and potential stories are valuable to us at UTRGV, Special Collections and Archives, and the Voices Project. Particularly for us at the UTRGV Special Collections, we are committed to preserving the stories of Mexican Americans and Latinos from South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley, and to those who work closely with these populations during this COVID-19 pandemic. Being a college student like yourself and someone who's revolved around social media a lot, having connections with people close to you, having to deal with COVID, I know you'll have a good range of stories you would wish to share with us. So before we get started, just a quick question to start the interview and be more acquainted with each other. Can you please share with us who Jose Julian Garcia is?
Okay, so I'm a student at UTRGV. I'm in my second year of college. I graduated from my Callan Memorial High School, and 19 years old.
Okay, thank you. The first set of questions will be our intro to the interview, where we as an audience can get your personal understanding of COVID 19 and any other perspectives of the pandemic. So, before before we begin, I just want to ask, how did you become aware about the situation? How did you first hear of COVID 19?
Okay, so when I first started hearing about COVID-19, it was usually through social media. So like mostly where I saw it would be like Twitter, YouTube, and maybe some Instagram. But it first started coming out where like people started realizing there was a new virus in China that and people were getting affected by it. But I mean, I didn't really think anything of it. I just saw that there was a new virus. It kind of reminded me of like the Ebola virus from a couple of years ago. So I didn't really think much of it, but that's where I first heard of it.
So, when you first heard of it, what was your first initial thought of having an understanding of the situation?
I saw that it was a dangerous virus, but I didn't really like. I would never imagine it. I didn't even imagine that it could reach all the way down here. I saw that and I was like, oh, like hopefully they get like rid of it soon. But I don't really think it'll come down here. It wasn't really like it didn't seem like a possibility to me that we would get affected by it like this much.
Okay. Well, as you just said, you didn't realize it would become such a serious event. But can you point to us as an audience? When did you realize it would become a serious event?
Okay, so when I realized that it was like actually something serious was when it was right during spring break when the school told us that we wouldn't be coming back to classes because of the pandemic, because that's how bad it was getting, that it was spreading real fast. That's when I started realizing like, oh wow, like this is actually like it's literally affecting me right now. I'm not gonna be able to go to school anymore. I'm gonna have to attend classes online. So that was when like it really like opened up like wow, this is actually like a real thing. And it was just crazy to me because I never imagined like something like this could happen. I always thought like oh yeah like there's no way that's possible. Like it can't. There's no way a virus can like come all the way from like another country to where we are here like in like McAllen, Texas. It's just crazy to me.
Okay. Well, what did you use to stay informed of the pandemic or any updates revolving around it?
I would say I kept using like social media like Twitter and YouTube to watch like news and stuff about it and like so that's how I mostly kept informed with the stuff and about COVID-19. Mostly, yeah, mostly Twitter and YouTube.
Did you think any of the information that you were getting from these apps or news outlets, did you think that any of them was always right?
Okay, yeah. So I would see stuff. There was some stuff that I would see that was like, I mean, I don't know, is that even like possible and stuff. So I would make sure to do my own research on the stuff that I thought weren't like really like accurate. So I always made sure to double check the information that I was seeing to make sure like it was actually like legit stuff.
Regarding your family, did your family approach the same level of concern about COVID as much as you, or were there some members who probably took it more lightly or more seriously?
Okay, so I would say all of my family members took it seriously. We all made sure to take the same precautions and same and we made sure to quarantine and not be around a lot of people that we know.
Okay. And a last question, so we can get an insight through your eyes and your perspective. If there were um, a first COVID-19 vaccine available to the masses, would you be one of the first ones to try it out?
To be honest, I don't think I would because I'm not really like trustworthy with those types. Like with being the first person or like being one of the first persons to like try it. I would have to wait for other people to do it and see how it affects them. If it cures them and there's no nothing else that like a bad that happens to them, then I would say like, oh, it's a good vaccine. Like it's not gonna affect me in any other way as long as it's just gonna cure the COVID.
Well, I'm sure just like many as you weren't the only one being affected from the pandemic in your household. So that's why these next set of questions will revolve around any of your loved ones who you live with and potentially anyone who has been affected with COVID-19 through where you live. So just to continue, I first want to ask how many people live with you and if you can please state their connection with you.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat that?
Um, sure. Like I said, I'm sure just like many of us, you weren't the only one being affected of the pandemic in your household. So these next set of questions will revolve around any of your loved ones who you live with and potentially anyone who's been affected of COVID-19. So before I continue, I first want to ask how many people live with you and can you state your connection with you?
Oh, okay, so right now in my house, it's my mom, dad, and my brother. I have a sister, but she's moved out, so she doesn't live with us. So it's just four of us right now in my house.
Okay. So before the pandemic, can you describe how your family celebrated gatherings, holidays, or meeting with loved ones?
Yeah, so pretty much every holiday, like Thanksgiving, December, birthdays, we would always I have a big family, so we would always like group up in one house and like it would be full of people. Usually it would be in my house, so my house would be packed like with my all of my family members. So yeah, we would have pretty big gatherings.
Well, since the pandemic, since March, I'm assuming, how has these celebrations changed, if at all, for you?
Yeah, so it's actually like affected it a lot. Like we literally haven't ever since it started. We haven't like done a big gathering like that ever again. I mean, ever just we just haven't done that. And the only things we've done is like the drive-by parties, where we just drive by in our cars and like wave and stuff. And like in birthdays, it's just me and my family who celebrate them here.
I see. Well, Jose, as we discussed in the pre-interview form, you and your family contracted COVID-19. Can you please share your family's COVID-19 story, from how you think you got the virus to testing to any doctor visits and recovery methods? Just walk me through it.
Yeah, so it first started with my mom. She kind of started feeling symptoms and headaches and sore throat, and she just felt really tired. And we're thinking that she might have gotten it because she went out just to I think like Lowe's to buy something real quick, and then she came back, and that's how we think she might have gotten it. But it started with her getting sick, and then after a while, that's when I started feeling my symptoms, light headaches and also sore throat, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, like I contacted my job and I told them that I started feeling symptoms. So I wasn't sure if I was positive, but I would have to take some time off just to be sure. And that's when my whole family we went to go get tested. And as we were waiting for our results, my mom like she kept getting worse. I wasn't, it didn't affect me that much, but my mom, she's the one who like actually got like bad. And then once we actually got the results, we realized we were actually positive. And that's when we realized like, oh, okay, we're positive. We have to stay quarantined. We can't go out at all. Like this is serious.
So all this happened when?
This happened around like the beginning of July, I would say.
Okay. And well, once you guys found out you guys tested positive, was there any recovery methods you guys took, or any medication that you might have done, anything different?
So with me, my dad, and my brother, we were good. By the time we realized we were positive, so we didn't really take any medication. But for my mom, she actually got it really bad. So we um we had to go get a medicate. We had to get medications from Mexico because that was the only ones that worked. And yeah, those actually helped my mom to get better.
Right. Well, I understand that when someone tests positive for the coronavirus, they need a quarantine for about 2 weeks. What were those 2 weeks you spent quarantining your household like? Assuming that you were quarantined with your family too.
Yeah, so the by the time we got it, it was like kind of like this. We were still kind of being forced to quarantine. So, but we could still like before we got it, we could still like kind of go out every once in a while, buy groceries, stuff that we needed, and then come back. But yeah, once we ended up getting it, we literally couldn't go out at all because I mean we didn't want to infect anybody else. And it was, I would say, like it was kind of depressing just because just being locked in your house, not being able to go out and maybe you meet up with like a family member or something. It was really, I would say, depressing. You could definitely feel like a different vibe in the house.
Okay. Well, we know that your whole family, besides your sister, contracted COVID-19, as you recall telling us. Can you describe how COVID-19 affected your family's economic situation at home? Were there any financial stresses or anxieties you guys might have felt?
Um, I don't think we're really affected financially because we had already saved up money and we had already bought a lot of supplies just in case anything happened. Um, so we weren't really like stressing too much. Uh, and yeah.
So you guys can say that you guys were more prepared more than others.
Um, yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, we made sure to be ready. Like if anything happened, if my dad wasn't able to work, and if we weren't able to go out and buy groceries, we made sure to already have some here that we had stocked up.
Speaking of work, the next set of questions that we're going to discuss are any work-related events that have happened to you during the pandemic. So to go ahead and start this, can you please describe where you worked and what did you do in your job before COVID?
Okay, so I worked at this company called Brax Commercial Doors, and what they do is install commercial doors like the big metal doors that you see in big stores or the wooden doors that you see all around school. That's pretty much the type of doors they install. Basically, what I did, I was kind of like a trainee there. I would help around the office answering calls, checking inventory, sometimes doing quotes and doing sales to customers. And every once in a while, I would go off to a job site and help them install a door.
When COVID spread in our region, what kind of policies were in your work to stay ahead of the situation?
So what they did in my work was they enforced wearing masks, and every time we came in, we had to make sure we sanitized our hands. Also, like every time at the end of the day, we made sure to sanitize the whole office, make sure to clean it, and then with our customers that our walk-in customers, we would have them call and wait outside, and we would ask what parts they needed, and we would just deliver them to their car.
So I'm imagining that when you contracted COVID-19, you let your work know. So how did your work reacted to when they found out that you got it?
Yeah, so as soon as I started feeling symptoms, I knew that I had to like take a precaution. So I contacted my work and told them that I wasn't feeling good, that I might have had contracted the virus, and they were fine with it. They said I could take some time off, uh, like a couple weeks off to get better and possibly like get rid of the virus.
Okay. Well, besides yourself, do you know any other employees or staff members who has received a pay cut or potentially lost their job because of the pandemic?
Um, no, I wouldn't say is nobody else my job got sick from the virus. I would say it was only me. So actually, uh, down the road, actually did I don't work anymore because for some reason with the virus, I ended up contracting it for like over 2 months. I just kept coming out positive, and I wasn't getting negative results. So my business they had to let me go.
I understand. Well, going on ahead with the next category of questions, we can go ahead and discuss more about your situation regarding your education. So, where do you go to school, and what is your major?
Okay, so I'm a second year student at UTRGV. My major is technically or I'm undecided, but it's technically entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Okay. How has the pandemic affected your education and your educational performance?
So once um the pandemic started like in the middle of my first semester in my second year. So or in my second semester in my first year. So at first I was doing good in classes and stuff. But once the pandemic started, like everything just like switched to online, and it just like felt very different. It was kind of like overwhelming because it just like felt like there was a lot of work that I had to get done, and so yeah, I preferred the person-in-person classes instead of the online.
Well, overall, can you tell us what was your best and worst experiences with education during this COVID-19 era of learning?
Okay, so I would say my best experiences were not having like to go all the way to school and drive over there. I could just wake up and come to my desk and just be in class my on my computer. And I would say that my worst experience with having online school is just like not being able to like learn as much because when you're in person, you're there in school in the classroom, you're paying attention, just focusing on what the professor says. And then here in your home, you can easily get distracted. You have your phone, and I get easily distracted. So I with anything that happens, I just lose focus. So I have found it harder to like focus on the class and learn more.
I see. Well, to conclude our interview, I want to finish things off with some final questions to wrap up any particular things I may have missed, or give you the opportunity to bring up something that I may have not asked and we could bring into the to talk about. So, are you satisfied with the overall local response to COVID here in your hometown, McAllen, Texas, specifically in Hidalgo County?
Um, I would say I'm semi satisfied because at first everyone was taking it seriously. They were locking down a lot of the businesses that were here, except like the essential ones. But I would say over time, a lot of people, the county started opening everything back up, and people thought like, oh, it's okay to go out again, and they stopped taking it super seriously. And I would say that's one of the big reasons why like the cases started coming back up.
Well, what about the state of Texas? Are you satisfied with the state of Texas and how they responded to COVID?
I would say that I'm not really satisfied because like I said, like they did enforce the lockdowns for a little bit, but it felt like right away they decided to open everything back up, and I didn't really think that was okay.
Okay. Well, how about more in a bigger perspective? Are you satisfied with the national response to COVID-19 compared to other nations around the world?
Um, with the United States compared to the other places around the world, I would say that I'm not satisfied because if you see like other places in the world, they've already like kind of gotten rid of the virus. Like it's not really affecting them that much anymore. But because the United States and our president didn't take it super seriously. They they pretty much told people like, don't take it seriously. It's not that big a deal. And I mean, we're still struggling with the virus to this day, and it's just they have. I don't think they've done a good job enforcing the lockdowns and all that, the mask and all that protocol.
Well, seeing as you feel about it, about these past three questions that I asked, if you had the power to respond to COVID-19, just like the county of Hidalgo and like McAllen and the state of Texas and nationally, um, what would you do differently? Would there be a different approach that you would take?
Yeah. So what I would have done is I would have kept the businesses locked down for longer. I would make sure that everybody was taking the right protocols, like wearing their mask. I would show like why it's so important instead of just saying like just wear them, just wear them. Like I would show why it's actually important to wear them, and yeah, I would just make sure not to have people going out too much. You know, like making sure they stay at home and actually follow the quarantine rules.
As you may be aware of this, this is the year that we held our presidential elections. Um, did you vote? And if so, did you notice any different precautions being taken because of the pandemic?
Yeah, so I did vote, and I wouldn't say like I noticed anything different because it was my first time voting. But when I went, I did notice that to in the lines we were all they made sure that we were all 6 feet apart. We were required to wear masks. And before we went into the room, we made sure to use hand sanitizer. And to vote, they gave us a long little Q-tip to press the screen. So I would say they did do some good protocols there.
Lastly, before I conclude the interview, is there anything else you would like to share with me about your experiences with COVID that I may have not asked about?
Um, mm, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you, Jose, for taking the time for to having this interview with me. I appreciate the stories, the information, and everything you share with us. Once again, I just want to say overall for contributing to the Voces pandemic, and I just want to say I want to conclude this interview with you.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting.
All right, thank you.